Blog Talk Radio.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Nature of Reality Radio on June 15th, 2016. This is your host, Andrew Fisher, broadcasting Wednesdays from the suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to expose the true and false nature of reality for what it is and what it is not. On the show today, Kari Samuels, someone who I follow very closely and who I use very, very much. The Archangel 28-day thing, among other things, is something I do. I'll be talking about that and a whole lot of other things. Kari uses a lot of things: numerology, astrology, archangels, and more to make miracles. That, of course, is the title of my program. Kari never knew that she was psychic growing up, yet by no means was she normal, and she always had a love of mysticism and spent most of her time thinking about past lives, parallel universes, and God. Well, I'll give her the chance to tell her life story when she's on. There's a couple people in the queue here, area code 305 and area code 201. I'm not sure which one of you is Kari. I guess I'll check both of you. But I'll definitely get you on, Kari, no later than 10 after the hour. But first, as usual, well, first of all, there's nobody in the chat, so hopefully some people will tune in. Kari's a very popular lady, got a lot of fans, and I'm certainly one of them. Listen to her videos all the time on Numerology.com whenever I get the emails for them. But first, we will, as usual, do the news, courtesy of Alex Jones and Company at InfoWars. Let me just get the article up here to make sure the most newest and most recent articles are being used. Okay, hang on a second, folks. Only take a second here. Just want to make sure that the articles, I refresh the page so that I get the most recent articles. All right. First article: hacker releases secret Clinton docs from State Department, DNC's Trump opposition file donor list. Thousands of internal DNC documents leaked online. A hacker has reportedly released thousands of documents belonging to the Democratic National Committee that were recently taken during a breach of the organization's computer network. The documents posted online by a hacker identifying as Guccifer 2.0, an homage to the now imprisoned Romanian hacker who revealed Hillary's private email, include what appears to be the DNC's research into Republican candidate Donald Trump, donor lists full of celebrity names, and secret files taken from Clinton's State Department computer. Well, how much more information do we need to expose before people finally realize that Hillary Clinton is a lying, cheating scumbag of a woman? She is an Illuminati Grand Dame, as Fritz Springmeier exposed in his book Bloodlines of the Illuminati. And, of course, as anybody who's seen David Icke's Revelations of a Mother Goddess documentary would know, Arizona Wilder said that she saw in satanic rituals where she was a mind control victim, she saw people shapeshift from reptilian to human form, and she said, I saw Hillary Clinton before I knew she was Hillary Clinton. Yes, a lot of people won't believe that, but I certainly see no reason to think that is a lie, because Hillary is so disgusting with all the Benghazi and everything that she's done, the private emails. She's got to be imprisoned as soon as possible. It's only a matter of time, hopefully, and hopefully this hacking thing will wake more people up. And by the way, Bernie Sanders is a socialist. Not really worth trusting. And what about Donald Trump? Well, as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump is a red herring. There's more important things to worry about than his campaign, as far as I'm concerned. But still, he seems to be honest and sincere and is willing to fight for the little guy. And hopefully his wealth will not get in the way of his ego, as some people are concerned. That remains to be seen. Next article. Drudge to DHS Secretary, give up your guns first. You go first, brah. Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson should lead the way in relinquishing the guns used to protect him, the founder of JudgeReport.com said Tuesday. Yes, this is obviously in response to that shooting in Orlando that happened over the weekend. Over the weekend, I was, of course, in Washington State at Ted Mahr's Galactic Wisdom Conference. It was pretty fun. I enjoyed it, although I must say I learned a couple things. One, I learned that one of the reasons I often find myself getting really fatigued and dozing off during presentations at conferences that I go to is because I had implants implanted in me. Scott Lamriel, who was one of my previous guests, told me about that, and one of the speakers also was able to heal me when I asked for a healing and removed all the implants in me. So hopefully from now on, whenever I go to conferences, I won't be dozing off and missing out on important information during talks, because that was getting really annoying. I often tried to sleep well, even took caffeine, and yet I found myself dozing off. Well, now I know why that was happening. So, and I also found myself thinking really negative thoughts throughout a lot of the conference. I can't help but wonder if malevolent entities and archons were trying to attack me because they thought I would be a great activator at the conference, so they didn't want me to do well. So they attacked me. And all right, well, I'm digressing. I should get back to the news now. Anyway, while I was enjoying the conference, there was the Orlando shooting, deadly massacre, ISIL, which of course is like Al-Qaeda, controlled by the U.S. government and the globalists, claimed responsibility. A lot of unanswered questions. This was definitely a false flag, definitely being lied about the official story, like what kind of gun was used, how many shooters there were, and all the rest of it. So don't fall for the lie. Don't give up your right to bear arms. They just want to take our guns to control our lives. And how ironic the tyrants in government want to keep their guns, but they want to disarm us. All of them are proof that they're tyrants and liars. Next article. Watch, imploded casino collapses just like World Trade Center 7 on 9/11. Both buildings implode into their footprints at near freefall speed. During a controlled implosion, a high-rise Las Vegas casino collapsed at near freefall speed just like World Trade Center Building 7 on 9/11. Okay, this is preaching to the choir, all this stuff about Building 7 on 9/11, but they're just trying to make a point that this it was the Riviera Hotel and Casino was demolished with explosives on Tuesday, bringing it down in a way that looks just like Building 7, although it should be noted in my interview with John Lear, he talked about how Building 7 was, and the Twin Towers for that matter, it was no ordinary controlled demolition. It was a direct energy weapon-induced controlled demolition. Enough evidence to determine what type of direct energy weapon was used. I mean, you got mini nuclear bombs, you got HARP, you got a direct energy death ray on a space-based platform on Earth's orbit. And Jim Mars at the recent Free Your Mind conference I was at said on Long Island there was some sort of a death ray, which he thinks was the direct energy weapon that was used to take down the Twin Towers. Look, the point is, they were dustified into microscopic dust, emphasis microscopic, and and there was virtually nothing left of the buildings compared to other controlled demolitions where there was usually a pile of dust. There was like no dust virtually at the World Trade Center, which shows the direct energy weapon was used, and which is different than this casino implosion. But the point is, controlled demolition, free fall speed, it's pretty in-your-face obvious. All right, next article. Report, Academy Sports creating database for ammo purchases, pulls rifles from shelves. Outdoor retailers snooping for the feds. Academy Sports and Outdoors is gathering personal data on customers who buy more than 10 boxes of so-called assault rifle caliber ammunition and is pulling rifles from store shelves in support of the Obama administration agenda. All right, certainly want to research this Academy Sports and Outdoors company a little further, see if they are somehow allied with the globalists, because if they had any sense whatsoever, they would understand that they should not be getting rid of rifles from their store shelves and should be more inclined to sell rifles to people so they can use those rifles to protect ourselves from the tyrants. But they're doing the exact opposite. So keep your eyes on this Academy Sports and Outdoors store. There's something very fishy about this. They're not doing what they should be doing. Next article, the real candidate for Mecca, which presidential candidate is being funded by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is now openly talking about how they are funding Hillary Clinton's campaign. Yes, there are laws that say Hillary Clinton cannot receive funding from Saudi Arabia, but she is receiving funding from Saudi Arabia, which the House of Saud, one of the most powerful puppet families of the Illuminati, Saudi Arabia has a great stake in world affairs. And, well, the fact that Clinton gets her money from them, all the more reason why she is not worthy of being president. Next article, FBI, U.S. homicide rate at 51-year low, yet number of new guns in the U.S. increased 141%. The U.S. homicide rate in 2014, the most recent year available, was 4.5 per 100,000. So more guns, less crime. Criminals will not commit crimes in places where people can use guns to protect themselves. And shame on the California courts for recently ruling that the right to bear arms does not allow for concealed carry. Bear is bear, concealed or open carry. What part of that do the courts not understand? Next article, central bankers are wrong about inflation and deflation, the shrinking pool of real wealth. The majority of economists view deflation as a general decline in prices of goods and services. Well, I don't think I really have too much time to talk about how inflation and deflation work. I mean, we all learned about this in like 11th grade economics and such, but there's been a lot of talk, and we talked about this at the recent conference, the Galactic Wisdom Conference I was at, Ted Mars Conference over the weekend, about how, like, for all intents and purposes, everything has been, the powers that be have lost their power right now. There's no more Illuminati on planet Earth. The monetary system is kaput. It's just that we can't get it all out there right now. It has to be incremented slowly. It can't just be released all at once because the world isn't ready for the overnight change yet on everything. That's not how it works. It has to be done step by step, bit by bit, for society to be acclimated to the freer and less tyrannical regime. So the powers that be, their time is almost up. It's just that we need a little bit to make sure that the new the new monetary system and all of our liberties get put in place. It's only a matter of time, folks. It's not the when, it's the what. Time is an illusion. I must stress that. Next article, USDA, people make the right choice to eat why did I say right choice? My bad. People make the choice to eat unhealthy food. The myth of food dessert. Last week, Ryan McMacken, the article writer, said, last week I examined how obesity among low-income households cannot be explained by simply claiming that low-income people don't have access to healthy food. Yeah, it does seem kind of strange that people that make a lot, less money than others would be fatter than people that make more money. You would think that since they make less money, that means less food, which would mean that they're skinnier. But in reality, it's not like that. When they make less money, they have to buy more unhealthy food, which in turn makes them fatter. Not to mention when you're depressed, you will often eat more. Well, it's the opposite for a lot of people, but for some inexplicable reason, even I can't explain it, I must admit, less money equals more pounds in the belly. It's a shame. Last article, the 9 best quotes against intellectual property. Okay, I don't have time to read all these quotes. That's something you guys can check out for yourself. But here's a nice Thomas Jefferson quote. He who lights his taper at mine receives light without darkening me. Okay, I don't have time to elaborate on what that's all about. So I see I have a few guests in the chat room. Who is this who I have in the queue? I think area code 201. I'm guessing this is Kari Samuels because there's a question mark next to the number. Area code 201. Is this Kari Samuels?
No.
Okay, wrong person. Okay, I see you have a question. I will make sure I take your call. I will be taking calls at 7:15 Eastern. So stay on the line. I'll get you on when your time is on. All right. Area code 305. Is this Kari Samuels?
Yes, hello.
Yep. How you doing, Kari? Glad to have you on.
No, this is not Kari.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said yes. Okay, never mind.
No,
All right.
I said hello. Okay,
sorry. I thought you said yes. All right. So by process of elimination, this last number here, area code 760, must be Kari Samuels.
This
760.
So hi, that's funny because I just am emailing you. I'm like, I'm at 760.
Okay, well, that was the only one left, so that must be you. Glad to see you on the air, Kari. I love your work. There's a lot of things that you do. The 28-day thing with the angels, I've done that about, I'd say, 5 times. Yeah, 5 times I've gone through that whole entire 28-day spiel ever since I signed up for that a couple years ago. I think it's done me well. I listen to your updates from numerologist.com whenever I get them in the mail and everything. So, well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I asked my angels and guides to guide us and protect us on this interview to make sure the most important questions get asked and the most important and best statements you can possibly give get stated. So I know they're with us. So I guess, first of all, I'll let you tell your life story about how you didn't realize you had powers, but then you realized you did have powers, if that makes sense.
Powers.
So go ahead. Tell your life story.
I have powers. Well, yeah, because I'm an intuitive and psychic energy healer, numerologist, right? So for anyone who doesn't know what these powers are. So I do believe that everyone is intuitive and everyone is very psychic and very intuitive. I was always very woo-woo, and I was always very otherworldly. However, it didn't translate as psychic or intuitive because I believe we're trained to unlisten to it. So, and the more psychic and intuitive you are, or sensitive and empathic, and you don't have the training to channel it in a positive way, I think it causes problems, right? So that's where I was. So I did eventually learn how to channel this in a way that's beneficial for me and other people. And it's my passion to help people channel their intuitive abilities in a way. And, the reason I do numerology and astrology is to help people read the symbols in the universe so that you could be in control of your life in a very empowering way. Not that you are ever in control of your life, but but there's definitely a better way to be, and we're not usually taught that. So yeah, I was able to figure it out, and now I want to help other people.
Thank you. I'm always I'm always going to be on mute whenever you're talking. So if there's a slight delay, I'm just unmuting. And sometimes Blog Talk has glitches. And by the way, I have to once again use Direct Connect to call into this show. There was a message saying, please do not call into Skype. There's some sort of a problem. So I don't know how long that'll last. Hopefully that won't become any more problems. But let's just go with the flow and hope everything works well. So I guess we'll take each of your professions bit by bit. And as the conversation unfolds, I'll find different topics to discuss. So, well, first of all, I didn't put it in the title, but I do have it here in the description. One day someone handed you a book about palmistry. So I guess I'll give you the chance to talk about how palmistry works for those that don't know about it. And, well, you got the floor on this subject.
Well, now the PC term is scientific hand analysis. So, because everyone needs a PC term, I think. So that was one of my big discoveries. I think a lot of psychics or intuitives, they have something that triggers their awareness, where they have an opportunity to realize that maybe they're perceiving things on a deeper level than what meets the eye. So about 20 years ago, I started reading astrology, and I found it fascinating. Now, this is back in the 90s when people were, temping all the time. Remember the temp agencies? So back in the day when I was temping, I was doing reception, and the woman training me said, "Oh, astrology, that's fascinating. I have a book." So she brought me this book. It turned out to have astrology symbols all over it, but it was a palmistry book. So, again, back in the day, temping at reception, they're like, go read a book when it's boring. So I was reading this book. Now, mind you, I had a palmistry book when I was very young because, like I said, I was very interested in this stuff. So I was kind of remembering it a little bit. And so people came up to me, and they were like, "Oh, how fun, palmistry, read my hand." Everybody likes that kind of stuff. Well, not everybody. Actually, there's a lot of people who hate it. But, it's fun. And so people would, show me their hand. And what's interesting is, any other message you get, you can get an animal message, or you can see some kind of symbol or anything that triggers something. So I kept saying to people, well, I really just got this book. I don't really know how it works very well. They're like, "Oh, come on and try." So basically what happened was I was just saying things that I thought were just, whatever, off the cuff, and people would go ghost white because I would say something really perceptive. Now, part of that is the scientific art of palmistry or hand analysis. And part of it was that, like any oracle, it's a springboard for your own intuition. Now, how palmistry works is that there's nerve endings in your hand, just like in acupuncture, a reflex, they do ear acupuncture that can stimulate points in your whole body, or reflexology. Well, your hands actually have they're connected to every part of your brain. So different parts of your brain start to physiologically create different lines or patterns or shapes on your hands. And so that's why it's somewhat scientific, because it actually correlates with your brain and the different parts of your brain. So that's how that worked. And I actually don't think I could do what I did back then, because in terms of palmistry, because now I mostly direct dial with my angels and guides. so I couldn't really even explain the lines on the hands as well as I did back then. But, now I learned how to quickly and directly access my guides and other people's too, and angels. So, but that's how that works, and it was a great springboard. And from there I went to tarot, the tarot.
All right, well, in that case, I guess I'll give you the floor to talk about tarot, and I do think that there is definitely some truth to tarot. I actually use the Deviant Moon Tarot. Haven't used it as much as I used to back in the day, but whenever some really important question comes up, I don't hesitate to use the Deviant Moon Tarot card to get the answer to my question. It's, by the way, the Deviant Moon Tarot is the most popular tarot deck on the face of the earth. Not that that really means anything. Yeah,
I want
to
see. I'm gonna look it up as we're talking. I've actually never heard of it. I'm usually not a traditionalist in most things, but with the tarot, I was very traditional. Like I learned with the traditional universal weight deck, and for some reason that's my main squeeze, because the deck that I learned on, the universal weight deck, which was like a seminal tarot deck, the foundation, the archetypes are so universal on that. That's, I think, maybe why I like it. It's like learning your scales in a way. But that's so great that you did it. Actually, before I answer that, I want to hear, it is accurate, right? Like, so that's the thing. You don't consider yourself a psychic, but you get accurate readings with that, don't you?
Yeah, I think everything that I found with the Deviant Moon Tarot in regards to questions being answered has been pretty accurate so far. And like I was saying, there's definitely truth to tarot card power. I mean, I had an interview with Psychic Farusha. She said that shortly before 9/11 happened, someone she knew was always pulling the Tower Tarot, and then lo and behold, the Twin Towers came down. One would debate whether the Tower Tarot specifically refers to 9/11 or whether that was just the creator's way of saying 9/11 is going to happen. It doesn't necessarily mean the Tower Tarot is 9/11 in the strict sense. It's just that was by virtue of synchronicity, a perfect way of telling the world, if you will, that was going to happen. So there's a little debate in that regard, but the point is that, among many other things, shows there is definitely truth to tarot power. So does the deck really matter or not?
It does matter. And here's why. So this is basically a way of you communicating with your spirit guides in a way that's easy for both of you. So, one great way, and if people want me to define spirit guides later, I can too. But one great way that people communicate with their spirit guides is dreams, right? So because your left brain is hopefully shut down by the time you're dreaming, and you're in that receptive state, your brain is slower, so it's easy for your guides and angels to get messages to you that way. Now, when you're awake, it's a lot more difficult for you to communicate with your guides because spirit guides and angels are in a much higher vibration than us. And so they're trying to talk to us, we're trying to talk to them, and what's the language? Like, how do they communicate to you, right? So it takes a while to learn how to recognize the very subtle symbols, because it's not like what you see in the movies. It's not like there's dead people at the foot of your bed that like are having a conversation with you. It's not like that. Guides communicate to you very subtly through thoughts and feelings and very fine-tuning of your five senses, really. So with the tarot, with oracle cards, this is a pictorial, it's opportunity. It's like having a lucid dream. So it gives you an opportunity. It's like having a glossary or whatever, before you go to a foreign country, you get like a translation dictionary kind of thing. So it gives you an opportunity to communicate with each other through pictures and symbols. And so that will stimulates something in your own mind, in your own memory, just like a dream does. When you see a picture in your dream, it also has a very strong emotional connection for you. So, it brings up an emotion. So it's not just a picture, right? It's a feeling with that picture that's personal to your association. So I liked the Universal Weight deck because it was rich with archetypical symbols, so I got to learn a big vocabulary. But maybe that doesn't stimulate your imagination. Maybe it doesn't feel right for you. So you resonate with the art of the Deviant Moon deck. So that's going to speak to you. So you want something that speaks to you because it's literally going to be how your guides are speaking to you. So, I am a bit of an oracle-aholic because I have several decks for different things. Like, let's say there's something about a celebration or like, something that's got a light energy. I might use a fairy deck, or something that's mostly about healing. I could use an angel deck. But if I really want to go into like the psychology of something, I could use like a tarot deck. But again, all of these images must be pleasing to you in some way because they're going to be talking to you. So that's how I feel about that. That's only my opinion, though.
Thank you. And is it natural, do you think? Like I said, I don't use the tarot as much as I used to. And for that matter, I seem to notice like people in general, as the Earth's vibration rises, people don't really feel the need to use the tarot or ask their angels or consult astrology or numerology as much as they used to. Others would say, well, I don't know. I mean, it's a matter of perspective. Some think it's better to go with the flow and not really obsess too much about the tarot, numerology, and astrology and those things. But others say, no, you might as well use them as a guide to give some variety to your life. But like I said, I have noticed that I, as well as a lot of other people, don't seem to use them and even ask the angels and guides for help as much as we used to, because as the Earth's vibration rises, we're moving closer to ascension, so there's really no need to ask for help or consult programs like numerology and astrology. So do you think it makes sense that you would need less help from those things as Earth's consciousness rises over time?
Here's personally, I don't use tarot very much because, like I said, I communicate directly with my guides, but I can't imagine life without communicating with my guides or my angels. That is ascension to me. Ascension to me is being on that higher vibration where I can connect with them and where other people can connect with them. So I feel like the higher vibration and consciousness is having connection with our angels and our guides. Now, in terms of astrology and numerology, I feel the same way about it. I feel like these are ancient tools which help us interpret our world. And the more awareness we have, the more respect that we have for these divinatory arts, and the more comprehension we have of them. So, yeah, I guess maybe in a very future dimension, we can all see energetically what's coming. However, like I do monthly forecasts with astrology and numerology and tarot, actually. And to me, that's like having a weather forecast. Like, I guess we could be so evolved that we will know what the weather is ahead before it happens. However, if you have a proper weather forecast, it really helps. So to me, when you know the astrological and numerological weather, it helps you plan. You know, you're not going to do the same things during Mercury retrograde or a new moon or a full moon. To me, that's being more connected. It's not like a crutch. It's actually like being connected to the universe. And I also use it to look into your life plan, like what your soul's blueprint is. And it's an endless wealth of information there for you. So Yeah, maybe in the future we'll all just like intuit that. But the way you pick up your intuition is with the help of your angels and guides. So I would never want to disconnect from them. So that's my feeling about it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the whole thing about it being a crutch. In my interview with Stuart Swerdlow, he actually went as far as saying that crystals, gemstones, asking angels and guides and consulting things like numerology and astrology is a crutch. He actually said that, and the excuse he gave for why he believes it's a crutch is you are infinite consciousness, so you don't need to utilize those things. The problem, of course, I have with that is that you are missing out on all the fun. You're missing out on variety, which is the spice of life, and you said probably the same thing. Right?
I get what he's saying. It's like I think maybe people do use it as a crutch, but I think they're tools. Like they're here for us for a reason. Like I can't imagine not. Yes, and it is fun. So there. So I mean, I just can't. Why ignore? If the crystals have this amazing energy, like why not utilize their amazing energy? They've been living in the earth for like millions of years. So if you have access to this energy, then like why would you not want to resonate with that? Or why would you not want to know the weather, right? Like why would you not want to know the astrological weather? I think it's when people are like, oh, I'm a Virgo. I met this man who's a Libra. Am I compatible? And then it's like, well, then you're just giving your power away in some ways because, and not to say that's not fun too, because you can know things about them as a Libra or a Virgo. Like you can definitely understand, but it's kind of like if you adopt a puppy and you have a lab or you have a pit bull or you have, a mastiff, you're going to want to read up on it, right? And now each one of those is going to have their own personalities, but wouldn't you want to know about the breed that you're raising? Do you know what I mean? So they're helpful. Again, you have access to universal consciousness. Like I want to know, what this animal needs to be happy, right? Kind of thing. IMO.
That's all right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. If you want to agree to disagree, that's fine. So let's switch gears. Numerology. First of all, for those that don't know how numerology works, I guess I'll give you the chance right now. Tell us the science behind what you have to do to figure out numerological codes. Like when you see numbers, how do you deduce what the numerological code is? And give us an overall. You don't have to give any personal numerological horoscopes or readings or anything like that for anybody. Just give us a general overview of the science behind it and when you think is the best ways to utilize it in your life or anyone's life in general.
Well, there's a ton of ways. Now, numerology is a sister science to astrology, so if you can think of all the ways you can use astrology, too. Like, you can use it to understand who you are, like I said, like what breed you are. You can see part of your past life patterns with numerology and astrology. Actually, I'm one of the few people, I don't know if other people read into past lives with it, but when I started doing psychic readings, I was naturally attuned more to the past than the future. So, and past lives. So I also use numerology that way, but I'm the only one that I know of that does that. So, but I use it as a blueprint for the soul, and the guides that I talk to are very much the kind of guides that helped you plan your life before you were born, because we do have a plan. So, but it's also really, really, really good for forecasting, like I said, not predicting. So there's a difference between forecasting and predicting. Predicting is when you say this will happen. Forecasting is when you say this is the energy. These are the trends, i.e. like, there's going to be a blizzard or it's a sunny day, la, la, la. You can see that kind of stuff in numerology and astrology. You can see trends and patterns and the way they all come together. So I'm like a cosmic weather forecaster that way. But anyone can do that. Now, the way you use it to understand, like, your nature, like I said, like what kind of breed of person you are. Like if someone's a Libra, like you also have a life path number that's very similar to your sun sign in astrology. You can use it for house address numbers. By the way, I have a calculator on my website where you can look all this stuff up, like your house numerology or your life path numerology. It's karisamuels.com/calculator. You can just go and just experiment, right? You can look up yourself, you can look up other people, you can look up your address, you can look up your past addresses, you can look up, people's life path numbers. So basically, and it's really fun, and I really hope that people explore themselves before dismissing it or accepting it. So now that's the whole nature of your show, right? Like you want people to be intelligent and not just take anybody's word for things, right? So what's similar to your sun sign in astrology is based on your birth date also. Now, we use the year of your birth in addition to the month and day of your birth. So you can either go to karisamuels.com/calculator and look up your life path number there, or I can teach you how to do it. And that's Kari, KariSamuels.com, if you want to do this right now in real time. Or here's how you do it with math. So I hope people still remember how to do math. So basically you take now there's a few ways of adding this, okay? So I'm just going to give you the easiest way. You write down your month, your 2-digit month, or 1-digit month, your day, and your 4-digit year. So if you're born like November 12th, 1952, you would do 11/12/1952, right? And then you just add each of those numbers across. So that would be 1 + 1 + 1 + 2 + 1 + 9 + 5 + 2. So actually, let me go online and see what that would add up to, because I'm not doing it in my head very fast. And I don't want radio silence. Okay, so that would be, I don't have that there. I mean, I do, but I have to do this thing really fast. So bear with me a second. 1952, so that would add up to 22. Now, 22 is a master number, so it doesn't always get reduced. But if you have a 2-digit number, let's say 22, you would add 2 + 2 = 4. So that would make you a 4 life path number. So I'll give you the very quick breakdown of what these life path numbers are. 1 is all about independence, inspiration, creativity. 1s are meant to be leaders. So they often are the kind of people they're like, I want to do this myself. I want to try it myself. I want to learn this myself. I want to do this. So because they're self-directed, right? You're meant to be self-directed. They get a ton of ideas, and they definitely want to be entrepreneurs. And one big challenge is putting it into practice, because it can be very challenging emotionally to do something different. And so they can struggle with confidence about that. But they're definitely feel the need to do everything themselves. Now, 2s are more relationship-oriented, harmony-oriented. They tend to be overgivers. They tend to be very supportive to the point where they do more than what's reciprocal, and that's one of their big life lessons, is to learn how to listen to their own intuition and their own needs as a way of balancing their life. Now, 3 is very creative and emotionally expressive, very sensitive. So 3s really, they sometimes feel uncomfortable sharing their feelings, and that's one. And being direct about that, they can be a little passive aggressive, but very creative, very sensitive, very expressive. So when you do learn how to speak directly from your heart, or create from your heart, or write, or sing, or do anything with words, that's really powerful. That's what your life purpose is, to use your words and expression to uplift and inspire others. 4. That's associated with the Emperor in the tarot, actually. So 4 is very much about logic and reason and order and foundations and real estate and anything to do with structure. So I know a lot of realtors and chiropractors who have 4 as their life path number, because it's structures and foundations. So that includes family and money, and they tend to be very focused on those kinds of things, like building good foundations, being secure, keeping their family secure, squaring corners, because 4 is a square. But 4s can feel like they have to work really hard for everything, because they're, part of their life path is about that discipline and step-by-step action. Now 5 needs to learn everything through their 5 senses, so they learn through experience. They're very freedom-oriented. They can be the revolutionaries. They're the ones that are meant to question everything and break down structures and create new ones. They thrive on freedom and adventure and trying new things. Now, it could be hard to be scattered, right? You can feel very unfocused, but you're meant to explore. And in relationships, too, it's like, ooh, you need freedom or else, oops, that could be problematic. Now, 6 is family-oriented, responsible, very harmony-oriented, so they can be very conflict-avoiding. 6s also tend to take on too much responsibility as their own and a very hard time delegating. They tend to think, I'm the best person to do it, so I'll just do it. I'll take this on. They very much carry a lot of responsibility with them, and they're very beauty and harmony oriented, so a lot of them are very good at singing, actually, or interior design also. Just think harmony. So again, conflict avoiding. 7 is very internally focused. You need a lot of privacy, a lot of space. You can be very social, but you also need a lot of time to yourself. Good at spatial things, architecture, very connected to the ocean. Very much about, there's sort of a shroud of mystery over 7s. Everyone's very intrigued by them. No one really knows what's going on with them. You're private-oriented, right? So like they love research and finding the truth and getting to the truth and really just having that time and space to like go into your own zone so that you can uncover writing or whatever it is that you like to zone out with. Like they're good at that. Now 8s, a lot of spiritual people have a hard time being an 8 life path because a lot of the lessons are around money and finance, but it's also about power. So 8s need to learn how to be okay with having positions of power or being powerful or having resources and managing those resources. Status, wealth, money, power, all of those things are life lessons in learning how to manage and be okay with and use them in the way that is beneficial for everybody. 9 is the last of the single digits, so it's really the end of a karmic cycle in a lot of ways. So you're meant to learn how to let go of the past and also to truly listen to your own self and be unique. And, therefore a lot of 9s don't get the affirmation that they want in early childhood because you're meant to learn how to really love yourself without seeking that approval from other people, because it's the lesson of the old soul to do that and then to teach and counsel others. So that's that. What are you? Well,
so I haven't checked. Well, so I did check, but I
for
think
you?
What?
Oh no, you don't want to give your birthday over the air. That's okay.
What? Actually, it's not that. I've made a resolution that I would never ever have a guest on my show do any readings or anything like that for me, because the purpose of my show is to give information, not reading so much. If any of the callers want to maybe get a reading from you, since you're willing to do it, that's okay. I'll be taking calls in about half an hour from now. So, but one thing about numerology I wanted to ask is the way it works is you basically add the numbers up and then the result you add them up. But the skeptics would say, well, you just arbitrarily decided that addition is the way numerology works. Who's to say you wouldn't subtract or divide or multiply the numbers? What law of nature is there that shows that numerology works, and what law is there to show that adding the numbers in the way that you would to do numerology is the way to do it?
Well, it's a several thousand-year-old science, so it's like as old as addition itself. And Pythagoras, you've heard of the Pythagorean theorem, right? Like, the triangle. So Pythagoras had a mystery school, and he's known as the grandfather of numerology, and he actually invented our musical scales. He's very connected to vibration and harmonics, and this has been going on since the Chaldeans and the Greeks and Hebrews. Everybody's been, using some version of this system. So it's just been passed down, and it's ancient because it's still accurate. And there's really, it's funny because the word math is proof. You proof things with math, but there's nothing to prove about it. The proof is in the validity of the information. There have been institutions which have tested some of these with real people, but really, if you once you have some experiences with it where you realize, wow, this is really, there's a lot of times I've guessed people will be like, well, what's my life path number? And you can pretty much guess by the way they act, right? Or because you see patterns in people. It's just accurate. So it's just the way it's been done. And Pythagoras and the Chaldeans and the ancient Hebrew, they've been doing it this way. So that's how. There's different other ways. There's letters, and but that's just for your life path number, which is, again, it's like, who says astrology? You're born on a certain day. Like, I don't know how they figured it out, but, well, I do. I mean, because the constellations were in a certain place at a certain time when everyone was born during a certain, days and months, right? So it's based on the constellations, or the seasons. So I'm not sure how they got into adding things, but I do know it's accurate from my own experience. So, and you can use it or not, if it resonates with you.
Oh, yeah, there's more than enough to show that it definitely works. And the same is true with astrology. So I guess we'll move on to astrology. The first thing I want to talk about in regards to astrology is, well, first of all, let me make a disclaimer here. I don't mean to create any sort of a conflict between you and Athen Chimenti or any of the other sidereal astrology folks, because I know you use tropical astrology. And in my interview with Santos Bonacci, and I said what you want about Santos Bonacci, a lot of people think he's lost his marbles because he now subscribes to the ridiculous flat earth theory. But all that aside...
No, you're kidding me.
Okay. But anyway, all that aside, he did say that all astrology must, including sidereal astrology, must bow down, so to speak, to tropical astrology. Tropical astrology is the most significant key astrology, and he explained in my interview why. But just a quick little thing, I want to quickly go over this. I'm here looking at masteringthezodiac.com. I did have Athen Chimenti as a guest on my show. He said sidereal astrology uses the actual size and location of the constellations in the sky. You may have noticed that almost everything on YouTube and online uses Western tropical astrology. This is the most popular system in the westernized world, particularly the U.S. and Europe. However, it does not use the real position of the constellations. Instead, it is based on a fixed astrological map of the stars as they were during approximately 285 AD. Tropical astrology was intended to match the stars with the vernal equinox. However, the stars are slowly changing location relative to the Earth. So today there is a variance of 24 degrees, almost a full zodiac sign between the tropical system and the actual constellations in the sky. Sidereal astrology has not yet received widespread popularity in the Western world. It has, however, always been used by ancient cultures like the Egyptians, Persians, Vedics, and Mayans. We feel this is the most accurate form of astrology because it is grounded in what you can actually see taking place in the sky. We believe in maintaining the link between ourselves and the natural world by viewing the stars as they truly are. And I seem to recall Athen having said that sidereal astrology is really good for spiritual stuff, but in regards to day-to-day things, like Santos Bonacci said, you would not want to use, if you're getting like an operation, like some sort of surgery, you would not want to use sidereal astrology to do a horoscope on what your surgery will be like. It's better to use tropical astrology. But again, he and some others would assert that tropical astrology is the most significant and the type of astrology that all other versions must bow down to. Now, some might say that seems counterintuitive because tropical astrology is Western astrology, and many people think that when you're talking about Western versus Eastern, like the Western world is more left-brained and has lost touch with reality, and the Eastern world, by virtue of that, should be the one that people should be more like concerned about because it's more in tune with like the right-brained natural flow of everything. Of course, you want to have a balance between left and right brain,
but
want
a balance.
Yeah, but like many people would see that since tropical is Western and sidereal is like Eastern, you would think that sidereal is the head honcho, the cream of the crop of all astrologies. But like Santos asserts, that is not the case. So what's your take on this whole sidereal versus tropical debate?
Oh, boy. And then there's Vedic, isn't there? And then, like there's this with numerology, too. I heard someone on the radio say Chaldean numerology is the most accurate system in the world, and there's other numerologists that know that, and they're too lazy to change. I'm like, too lazy? I just don't, it just doesn't resonate with me. And here's the thing. I don't really use, I'm not, how do I explain this? I'm very much about archetypes, right? And I see things as symbols. So, and mostly I'm an intuitive, so this is maybe even more in line with what your other guest was saying. So I do think that if you're looking for a specificity of, say, like an operation or something, well, you can also use numerology. But I think you can get an accurate enough depiction with any form, and everyone's going to have their own interpretation, and a lot of it is interpretation, but a lot of it is scientific, right? I think you can get accurate enough with any of them, but I agree. Like you'll want to use the more like left brainy thing, right? However, how do I explain this? We're affecting the stars, and the stars are affecting. This is a holographic picture, right? So it's not an exact. You can't parse it like that. I don't think it's meant to be parsed. Like how I utilize astrology usually is very much like I embody the energy of it. So like when I'm thinking of Scorpio, I'm not just looking at even the planets and the stars and constellations or like where we are relative to everything in our solar system. That's a part of it, and that's something I tune into energetically, right? So that's part of it. And however this system was created, I tune into that energetically. But the other thing is I think, well, what is Scorpio about? Scorpio, like what are the seasons like during Scorpio? Like what would your day be like in a Scorpio day when the leaves are falling off the tree and you feel like being inside more and you're writing in your journal or whatever that is, like that energy of really going inside as death is beginning to show in nature. So it's that energy of it that I tune into when I am connecting with astrology. To me it's more alive than anything, and so it can't be parsed. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't really prescribe to one system or another. I really am very much connected. Now, I'm not an astrologer, mind you. I'm mostly numerology, but even with numerology, I'm very much like if I look at a big chart of numerology, it will bore the hell out of me because at a certain point you're analyzing upon analyzing upon analyzing. And just what I was saying with like palmistry, this is a springboard for your own intuition. And when people start like analyzing in minutia, I feel like we lose so much of the energy of it and the intuition that this is giving us. So for me, it's more about the energy of it and really embodying what that is, and it could change even with people. Like, if you look at particle physics, right, and how, like, if you look at one atom one way and you want it to do one thing, it does one thing, and you want it to do another thing, it does another thing. There's a lot of that. So that's like a real thing that happens in physics, right? But that's part of how astrology works too. As you're looking at things a certain way, like, it actually changes things. So we're affecting our stars as much as they're affecting us because we're in this system together. So it's more about energy. I hope that didn't convolute it too much. I hope you understood what I mean.
Yes, and just for those that I already explained how sidereal astrology works with the positioning of the stars. For those that aren't really familiar, could you explain how tropical Western astrology works? It has to do with the ecliptic, but for those that don't know what that means, could you explain that?
I'm terrible at explaining it, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, it's always been very convoluted because at the same time, I don't really care. That's why I was like, I don't really even consider myself an astrologer. I incorporate it into everything I do, and I read natal charts sometimes. But what I'm looking at is like it's connected with the ecliptic of the moon. I'm looking at like where people's houses are, and I base it on astro.com. So basically, I've tested different chart systems, and I like the system they use on the site that I use called astro.com, and I found it to be very accurate in terms of the chart, the house placements and things like that. So that's why I'm like, I don't really, if something is like on between the 11th house and the 12th house, like I'll interpret it that way, right? So it's like these blurred lines between like, okay, so our planet's moving, so the seasons are different, now, and the constellations are different, they're moving. To me, it's like this is the archetype of Virgo. This is the archetype of Libra. The planets may not be exactly where they were 3,000 years ago when we were looking at this, or however many thousand years ago, but the archetype is still the same. It's in the morphic field, and that's what I'm connecting with. So I'm more tuned into the Akashic elements of things than the actual. So yeah, I've tried. My head has exploded when I've tried to figure out the difference. I'm just like, these are the chart systems I like. This is how I'm going to interpret it, and I really don't get into the minutia of it. Again, and I don't consider myself an astrologer or even a numerologist, even though for me, numbers talk to me more than anything. So I probably know numbers, the personality and energy and soul lessons of numbers better than, it's really in my bones. But, when you start talking, I don't really care about, like, different types of pinnacles, and at a certain point, like, I'm not even a numerologist anymore. I'm just like, whatever, and I don't claim to be. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is my area of expertise, is interpreting these things in a way that that is alive, and at a certain point, it loses that when you get more into minutia, and that's when I lose interest too, and that's just who I am, and I don't claim to be anything more than that, if that makes sense. Like, I'm a psychic and an intuitive and an energy healer, and so I'm interpreting symbols, but at a certain point, and I want to teach other people how to interpret that, and that's why I think I lose interest after a certain point when it gets into minutia, because it's not helpful to other people at that point, and that becomes not my job, if that makes sense. I consider my job is helping people become their own oracle. So I hope that makes sense.
Oh, it definitely does, and you certainly do a good job of it. I resonate very well with all those videos that I watch, whenever I get them in my email every so often, on a monthly basis and such. All right, 16 minutes actually till I take calls, so I guess we'll talk about the Archangels, and then after I take a few calls, then we'll go with the other things that I can talk about with you. But like I said, I did buy the whole 28-day thing with the Archangels. I've done that, I'd say, about 5 times, and I think it's
so happy.
It's done me well, but one thing I want to clear up about that, Is it true that whatever you get from that session can eventually be gotten rid of to the point where you may need to do the session again? And to give a good example, like chakra balancing, you ask the archangels to balance out your chakras. I once asked Daniel Teague, a previous guest to my show, about a chakra balancing. He said my pineal gland, my third eye, and crown chakra were spinning, but the other ones were inactive. So he did a balancing on them, and he balanced them all out. Well, one would say, okay, the angels can do the same, but regardless of whether it's the angels or a person with the power to do that, over the course of X amount of days, those chakras that they opened are going to close or are going to stop spinning again. So, or is that not necessarily true? Does that mean that that whole 28-day program, that's something that you should do on, maybe not on a like ritual level, because then you make a ritual out of it, but maybe every so often, just when the time is right and source tells you, okay, now's a good time, to a good 28-day period to do this, should you do it over and over and over again, because everything that the angels did for you in one session will, over the course of time, wither away as if you didn't do the session?
Well, let me there's actually a couple of different things that we're talking about here. So first of all, just to explain to people that don't know, I channeled the archangels for a 28-day program, Calling in Your Abundance Angels, 28 Days of Miracles, and it's a week with each archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, and each day there's a different spiritual lesson, and there's also a different angel activation where you're healing energy and uplifting your energy. So now, chakras, even though that was one day of the program, it's my personal belief, and I think a lot of people agree with me on this, that to me, cleansing and balancing your chakras is like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. It is important to have good energy hygiene. It's just like exercise, cleansing. Like, you can exercise and get in good shape, but you want to do something every day that's going to cleanse the energy that's stuck or that belongs to, that came from other people, or just there's energetic debris that happens every day. And so to me, like, I'll cleanse and balance my chakras every day. I have done for years. And then when I didn't, I started getting nightmares when I was still doing readings, because other people's energy was glamming onto me, and I started having nightmares that my windows were open and that I had all these invaders come into my house. And I thought, oh, because I'm not cleansing and balancing my aura and sealing my aura, because I was vulnerable, because you start to develop, your chakras never stop spinning, but they get stuck and they just get lethargic or overbalanced or, over whatever. They just get, it's like if you don't brush your teeth or take a shower, you start to feel disgusting. So, like, you want to. It's just really a good idea to balance your chakras every day. Now, this 28 Days of Abundance, Calling in Your Abundance Angels, 28 Days of Miracles, this program that you're talking about. Now, what happened was I originally wanted to create a 4-day series of, like, manifesting, where I was going to teach a different aspect of spiritual law. And then I kept hearing the number 28, 28, 28 in my head. And so I thought, I'm going to do a 28-day program. And then I realized that was the manifesting cycle of the moon. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. But then for years I've been calling in as protection Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. And then I thought, oh, my gosh, each phase of the moon really correlates with each of these archangels. And so what happened is I started channeling messages for each of these 28 days. And it's basically a course in manifesting, but it's not how I thought it was going to be. Because what the angels taught me, the archangels taught me through channeling them, is that there's some law in the universe called the law of entrainment. Now, entrainment is when it's that law, like, let's say there's a pendulum clock that's moving, right? There's a pendulum that's like doom, 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 right? And then there's other pendulums around it. Eventually, all the pendulums are going to start swinging at the same time in the same rhythm. Now, we entrain to the energy of other people. Whoever has the strongest energy around you, everyone is going to entrain with that. So what happens is a sensitive soul, we start to entrain to negative people. And to avoid that, we'll usually shrink up and close up and protect our aura because we don't want to be around them. And that makes your energy even smaller, which gives you less opportunity in the world. And so what the archangels taught me through channeling them is that their energy, so again, I talk about archetypes a lot. So if you look at the word archangel, they work with the archetypes, different archetypes of love. So Michael works with the archetype of love and protection and releasing. And Gabriel is, self-love through expression and really communicating. And Raphael is holding the energetic blueprint of healing for you. Your whole and perfected self, or the whole perfected self of whatever it is. They hold the archetype blueprint of that. Raphael does, and Uriel is this is really a link to the spiritual world and that purified energy of spiritual light. So they embody those archetypes. So when you entrain to their energy, it's going to help you with everything in your life. And since you've been through the program, you see each day has its own lesson and its own healing that you're learning that day. Now, I designed the program. No, I actually didn't design the program. The Archangels designed the program. But the way it was revealed to me is that however you're raising your vibration every day, so long as you're raising your vibration every day, you could do that program whenever you're inspired. You can take 1 or 2 days of that program because let's say, there's different things you want to work on, like there's a lesson in getting rid of shame and grief and guilt. So you may want to take that day and listen to it, or whenever you're inspired, or maybe you do it once and then you're guided energetically, you draw in something else to you that you need. So it's really designed to be used every day, and you'll discover something new if you use it every day, or as needed, or one and done. Really, you'll change your energy from working with the archangels regardless, right? However, chakra clearing and meditations I really feel, or some kind of energetic cleansing, need to be done every day. So I hope that answers your question, even though you didn't realize you were asking both those questions.
No, I realized I was asking that. And what about when it's a good time to do it? A little debate here again between sidereal thinking and Western thinking. Athan Chimenti, he says that new moons are actually not a good time to start something. The first quarter moon after the new moon, he says, is the best time to start something new, and the quarter moon after the full moon is the best time to finish it. And in my interview with him, he goes over why he believes that, and that sort of runs counter to when I first bought that 28-day program. It was on the day of a new moon, and I remember you saying in the thing, this is a good time to start. Well, Athan would agree to disagree with you. He says quarter moons are a good time to start. So this little debate over when is a good time to start those things, does it really matter, or does it matter?
Well, I am personally very attuned to the moon, so it's an interesting story, though. So, I mean, maybe not to you. I don't know. But for me, it was interesting because I really, I had a test audience. I tested a group of people with this before I released it because I wanted to see the results before I sent it out into the world. So I was recording every day, and I didn't. There were some days I had technical things and things happened that I couldn't get them on the very days that it wasn't all within 28 days. And so I thought, well, this must be a message about how flexible this program is, right? And how flexible the energy is. Like, I personally do believe that new moons are a great time to start things, but I also think quarter moons all have their own version of healing. Every quarter moon is a kind of crisis point, so to speak, where there's a readjustment. So I also, if I were going to start the program, and let's say someone, and this isn't just for any program, I'm just mean like in general, like new moon for starting. So I don't want to make it specific to me, but let's say, but for this, since we're using it as an example, let's say I bought it 5 days after the new moon. I would wait till the quarter moon, because I do think each quarter moon does have its own special cycle. Do you know? I think there's something to that 7 days, because 7 is that number. We have 7 chakras and 7 days of the week and 7 notes on a musical scale. They're very much about spirit and matter coming together. So I think that quarter moon energy, I don't agree with that the quarter moon is a better place to start, but I do think it's still really, very powerful on a quarter moon. So, I bet you he has very strong reasons through empirical evidence why he's seen that. Do you know what I mean? In numerology, a lot of people talk. There's a debate about what your personal year is, right? So does it start on your birthday, which is personal? You would think your personal year, which is when you add your day and month to the year. A lot of numerologists say it's on your birthday. And a lot of numerologists say it's on the first of the year. To me, mentally, it made more sense to have it on your birthday. However, I experimented with my own life over the course of many years, and I'm like, nope, it's on the first of the year. Because to me, my birthday's in September, so I can have enough time to see it. So it's just, it's just what my experience was. But I can see I could see why people would say either, Do you know what I'm saying? So it's really like you got to really experiment yourself. And the same thing, sidereal, all this stuff. You just want to, tropical, sidereal, you just want to experiment yourself and see what resonates with you. And that's everything you teach, right? That's everything you talk about, right?
Right. All right, one more question before I start taking calls. I don't know if you remember this, but during a question and answer session that you had after some sort of, I think it was with Archangel Michael or something that I did, you took questions, and you may remember my question. I asked, is there ever a good time in life where you should approach life with a mentality of keep your archangels and spirit guides out of it, suck it up, and do it yourself?
I can only imagine how I answered that.
You were like, oh, gosh. Well, and you were like, they're there to help you, so I don't think you should feel ashamed about asking for help. But I seem to recall people like George Kavassilis, for example, having said that if you ask the angels and guides for help too much, or when you don't really need to ask them for help, then there is going to be some sort of karma coming back because you're asking them when you shouldn't be asking them. So do you agree or disagree with that?
I wouldn't say karma. Karma in the sense that there's an imbalance. Whenever you're disempowering yourself, that I guess is karmic, right? So because you're creating an imbalance in the universe. And so karma is a strong word. So I wouldn't say karma, but how do I explain it? So your angels and guides talk to you so subtly and so much through your intuition that it becomes second nature. So I don't always say, oh, angels, what do I do kind of thing, although I do a lot. But I know when my intuition talks to me, right? So there are people that they talk to their angels and guides as if they're outside of themselves, not through their intuition. Like, I listen to my angels and guides through my own intuition. And when people just ask the same question over and over and over again because they're not trusting the universe, or they're not making a decision, or they're not taking action, I think that's incredibly disempowering. And then it's like, I've done this with myself where I'll ask my pendulum, like I usually consult a pendulum for things. If I'm making a decision, I'll sometimes take out my pendulum and just connect with myself that way. And sometimes my pendulum will just stop. It's like, don't ask this question. I'm like, okay, I'll stop asking the question. But do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure. I don't see why I shouldn't get what you're saying. You're pretty straightforward indeed. So with that being said, let's start taking calls. First one in the queue, area code 305. You are on the air. What's your name? Where you're from? What's your question?
Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm calling from Florida.
How you doing?
Hi, Maria.
Hi. And I am a big believer in destiny, and I feel that there are some things that are written for us, even though we have free will and many other things. And I was just calling to see, I don't know, astrologically, or numerology or whatever, if there was any message for me regarding what this year holds in store for me.
Well, what a great opportunity to look at your personal year, huh? So let's do that now. So what is so for your personal year, we just need your day and month of birth.
Okay, July 27th.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a lot of. So you're in a 7 personal year. So you're 7, 27, and a 7 personal year. So what happens in a 7 personal year is that you're getting tested about trust and faith. And oftentimes what happens is you'll feel betrayed or disappointed in other people and or yourself. And I do feel this energy around you. Also,
yeah.
I feel like you're disappointed in yourself about not acting faster on changing certain things in your life because you're disappointed in some other people and circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's absolutely accurate. Wow.
I'm telling you, this stuff works, right? Like, this is the real,
yeah.
the real thing. Yeah. So, as long as you understand that you can only make changes as quickly as you're ready, right? So maybe some of these people, or maybe you staying in a certain situation longer than you feel was healthy, which I think is I think you're thinking about that in a lot of situations now.
Yeah.
Those were part of your soul lessons. And, you're born on a 27 day, and those 27 reduces to 9, and 9 is the number of where the soul lessons are about learning how to forgive yourself for the past and let go of the past and learn how to truly trust your intuition. And so those are a big part of your life circumstances. So you can't let go of someone or something before you learn the lesson. And so don't be so hard on yourself about that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Wow. Yes, very accurate. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think me or her?
Go ahead.
No, I think I've said my piece. That's what you were asking.
All right. Thank you very much. Call in anytime. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Later. Bye. All right. Next up, we have area code 201. 201. You are on the air. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm from New Jersey. I know that I have a 9 life path, and I'm in a 6th personal year.
Oh, that's nice that you know that.
Yes, for my birthday, 1/5/1965.
Wait, say that again. What's your birthday?
1/5, January 5th, 1965.
So what's your question?
If you're in the 9th year, I understand like some of the characteristics of it. Does that mean that you had a life path? What exactly does it mean? I mean, what exactly does it mean in terms of your former life?
Wait, so you're in a 6th year, but you're saying you're a 9 life path, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you want to know about being a 9 life path?
I want to know, what does that mean in terms of, like, my former life, in terms of karmic debt?
Karmic debt is a very loaded expression. So here's a better way to look at it. You know, 9 is the number of an old soul. And every soul has to go through a process of individuating, which is an expression Carl Jung came up with, and he's a 9 life path, which is when you have to learn how to think for yourself, regardless of what everyone around you is thinking, where you have to learn how to trust your own inner resources, where you have to learn how to love yourself even when other people aren't doing that. So it's not necessarily karmic debt so much as an evolution. So it's a challenging life path because, you know, most of the time you weren't, you know, a lot of 9s weren't really nurtured a lot as children, or they always felt different, or, you know, because you didn't have nurturing, you make mistakes, and that's part of, like, you know, forgiving yourself for letting go of those kinds of things, because you're pretty much having to learn to be your own everything. So it's challenging, but only because you're ready for the challenge. And so the more you learn how to give yourself the affirmation that you're seeking outside of yourself, and truly loving and respecting yourself, and if you're not being respected by other people, is to really look at that and say, how am I disrespecting myself? How am I allowing this to happen? If you truly look at that, and change that. That's really the path of your life path.
And see, my husband has the same life path, but I think we're on a different. We're on a different. No, he has a 9 personal year, and he has a 9 life path. There's something else. He has 9.
Well, he's really working a lot of rejection issues, and he'll probably project that on you sometimes. You probably project it on each other. You know?
Yeah, we both do. And
yeah, that's why I say you probably, you know, you're healing each other's wounds together, because you'll be projecting all of your childhood wounds onto each other. So you really have to make sure that, like, you know, you're not taking on, you know, his feelings of abandonment from his father, and you're not doing that to him, you know?
Yes, his father did abandon him.
Well, there you go.
My situation, I don't even really know how to really look at it, but I know I've been dealing with a lot of issues of abandonment and rejection, and trying to process it. I've always had an interest in numbers, and I'm just trying to, like, analyze this one. I keep seeing certain numbers. I see 1111 a lot.
Well, that's a great sign.
In what way? Because I'm waiting for it.
Oh, yeah, no question. I see 1111 a lot, too, myself. That's, well, a lot of theories about that. That's one. That's the universe's way of saying, hello, I am here, I am conscious, and I'm making my presence known. And others say it's also a sign that you're on the right path. And I've even heard it shows that time is an illusion. If you see a lot of 1111s and numbers like that, whenever you look at the clock, that's a sign that the fourth dimension of time is no longer affecting you like it used to. So I guess that is a good sign, isn't it?
Very good sign.
Really?
Yeah, it's a sign of empowerment.
Oh. Okay. Well, I mean, my mind I could be very empowered in 1 second, and the next second, depending on who I'm around, it would just change because I am very empathic, and I do walk in challenging places every day. So I'm trying to learn how to, deal with the energetic draining things that come at me every day. And I would say I'm relatively new at learning this, and I've been seeking out as much help as I possibly can. And just learn how to deal with it and understand it. I do have an affinity and a love for numbers, and also I've always been like a stargazer, ever since I was a child. So I'm just trying to understand as much as possible. I'm pretty much at the place now where I'm beginning to find myself and learn who I am. If that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
It did come, I mean, to be honest with you, it was hurled at me. I was pretty much forced through it through trauma, and I'm just trying to learn how to balance it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when people look at some of their, very terrible experiences, and it could seem like a karmic debt. What's a really great book to read is Journey of Souls. I got it from the library and then I just bought the whole set because it's so good. But you can even, take it out from the library even if you want to just test it out and see how it is. It just explains why some of the older souls have some of the more difficult challenges, You would think it would get easier. But it's kind of like, you start out with finger painting in kindergarten, and then, you can, you can defend your PhD, and you're like, stuck in the library kind of thing. It's like, it doesn't get easier as you get to be an older soul. You can take on more and more challenges, which is what you did.
It is challenging. It definitely is. And I always knew I was an old soul, even though I didn't understand exactly what that was. But I've always felt like I've been here before, or I've always went through situations with deja vu that would just blow my mind.
Yeah.
And,
you're here to help. But with you really, I recommend you look at what I was talking about before with chakra healing. I recommend that you look at that. You can find a bazillion things on YouTube even to cleanse your chakras every day. You can make it up. I do my own every day. And then working with Archangel Michael is really good for helping raise your energy while you're around negative environments, really.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
So I would look into all of that.
I would, I don't know. I appreciate Archangel Michael in my life more than anyone would know. Prior to losing my mother, I would never believe that I would be where I'm at right now. As far as I was concerned, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and that was the trek that I was on. But, through the trials and the grief and, a lot of challenges that came from my own, I had no other choice but to start looking into other things.
And numbers are a symbol. I have, there's me and some other people, if you just look up, angel number messages or whatever, you can see, interpretations of those numbers, when they come to you. Because, again, I was talking about tarot cards, those are messages, too, all of them. So you may want to really tune into that because that's the way your guides can talk to you and your angels can talk to you.
Could I give you another number and you tell me what you get out of this birthday?
Sure.
5/8/1998.
Is this your son?
Yeah.
Wait, hang on, my phone headset. My phone headset came off. Sorry about that. 5/8/19. 19 what?
1998.
Okay, so that is a 4 life path, but I want to see something. 5/8/1998 is a 9 plus 5 plus 8. Okay, seeing if it's a karmic debt number. So 5's and 8. Is this your son? Who is this we're talking about?
I'm talking about my son.
It is your son. So, so you're concerned about him because he's having difficulty finding focus?
Yep.
So now this 4 number, they one of their mottos is question authority, because if they see an authority, anyone who's trying to be the boss of them, they're going to do the opposite thing, right? And so in a way he craves authority, but in a way, like when you try to lay down the law, it's just exhausting for you, correct?
Exactly. And I'm the one that has to deal with him more so. My husband really pushes him off on me. And
well, here's the thing. The 4 is associated with the father. And oftentimes people who have a 4 life path has a father that's not really there. So he craves male authority in a healthy way. So it's between you and your husband, for your husband to learn how to become more of the person who, in a very healthy way, creates good boundaries for your son. It really is between you and your husband, because your husband needs to take more of that, but not in a domineering way, in a strong and protective way.
Which he's not doing, and I think he's not doing it because he never was taught it himself.
Well, this is something for you guys to he doesn't want to be a male, a bad dad, so he's just pushing it off. So this is something for you all to work through, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it has been. It's been very difficult.
Yeah, you may need some outside help with that.
Yeah, well, I do have outside help for him, but again, like you said, he
No, I mean with your husband.
Oh,
with your husband.
Okay, well, he
to work through his father
help
issues, so he can be a better, a better dad.
He doesn't think he needs any help at all.
Well, again, this is like a thing you need to. Maybe you guys need a counselor or someone to help you through that.
But are you able to explain the planet alignment with my son? Because from my understanding, he has 5 planets in his 12th house, and that's a very sticky place to be. And he has begun manifesting a lot of challenges, and I'm trying to help him walk through it. I'm even trying to let him understand why I'm telling him these things, because I know that he's very intuitive, and there's some things that he knows, but he's secretive with it. He'll come out with it at different times, and he'll let me know that he acknowledged certain things that I said to him to be true, but then it's he still feels as though he has to find out on his own. And that's concerning.
He does need a strong, positive male authority. So, maybe you can even take him to the Boys and Girls Club or Big Brother, Big Sister or something, where he has someone who wants to and is willing to be that person for him. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So 12th house is just
should be sad. Don't get me wrong. My husband is hardworking.
I'm sure he's lovely, but if he's got
but he just doesn't understand the cultural norms that my son is faced with.
Right. So
doesn't
that's why I say that
understand the environment.
maybe you get, big brother, big sister type of thing, or Boys and Girls Club or something.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I think that will help a lot.
I appreciate it. It's a lot to
Sure,
learn. I would love to. Are you able to give your contact information and your website?
Yeah,
Because
you just go KariSamuels.com. There's all kinds of information on there for all numerology and Archangel Michael and the chakras. I don't do sessions anymore, but there's a ton of information on there that you can access.
And it's easy to learn and follow if you just focus on it.
Yes. Well, you have to, I think, find real life help resources too, not just learning on the web. I think you need a little bit of support in real time with other people.
Oh yeah, well my relationships have all been challenging.
I think you need some support for sure.
Okay. Do you see me moving anytime soon?
I don't do that kind of thing, but I don't think so. No, I don't think that's where you are right now. I think you need more stability than moving. But I'll let Andrew, if he wants to.
What?
Hi,
Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. So if we want, because I don't want this to get into full personal readings because it takes it into another place.
You don't have to be honest with you.
But I don't see you. I don't see you moving in the near future. I don't think it would be good for you because I think you need to stabilize where you are. But I would find support.
I really
with
wasn't looking to go far. I really wasn't looking to go far. I was just going to move from my home to where my mom used to live. It's just a couple of blocks away. It's just a different house, more private, more room. That's it.
Oh, well.
To be honest with you, I think it would be a little bit more stable for my family.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing if it's a familiar place, that sounds like good. As long as it's a nice, familiar, stable place, I think that would be good.
That's the reason why I asked that question. I'm not talking about like another state or
yeah. Well, that would be good then.
Another geographical area at this point.
I think that would be good.
Not yet.
No, I don't. I wouldn't want a big move for you. So good luck to you.
Best of luck to you too.
Hello?
Yeah. I was saying just best of luck to you. Anything else? Yeah. Glad having you on. I got 2 other callers though, so I think it's good if I take another caller now. I'm glad you got your questions answered.
Yeah.
Take care now.
Too. Bye.
Later. All right, next up on the air we have 2 area code 917s. One has a question mark next to the name, the other one doesn't. So 917376, you are on the air. What's your name, where you're from, what's your question?
Hello, my name is Ellen, and my question concerns jobs. I had an interview earlier this week, and I'm just picking up whether you see a job offer coming from them or even from someone else.
Oh, well, you're very creative, aren't you? I do see a job imminent.
A lot of opportunity with it. Let's put it that way.
What?
I don't think I don't have a lot of opportunity
to practice your creativity. But that also makes you a very, very, very enticing candidate. So I see one really strong lead and one that looks like it's going to be an almost but not. So I do see one coming forward, though, for you.
Are you able to distinguish them and give me some information so I can figure out which one is which?
I could do my best. So tell me which is what.
The one I had on Monday It's very similar to the position I have now, but it would be a change in title, so maybe a little bit more money and responsibility. The other one is more of a change from what I'm doing. Kind of the same titles, but in some respects, very, very different.
That one's actually way better.
I agree.
Yeah, the one I don't really. The first one doesn't even seem necessarily like something you would want or that would be worth it. Or do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I guess it even comes through in the way I describe it. Yes, I agree.
Well, I think you described it just fine. More money is always good, right? I think that sounds like a great description. I just don't think you would find it worth the money necessarily.
Yeah. The other one interests me more, but there's been no follow-up, and I talked to them about 2 weeks ago. And at that time there was a discussion that they liked me, but it wasn't a good fit for the actual position I was interviewing, and I asked them to consider me for other things. So, but
well, I would pursue more in that direction, regardless. Like you need a change.
Yeah.
But you don't need a horizontal change. So, I would keep looking for something that stimulates you more creatively because you're very creative.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, of course. Good luck.
Thank you, and I hope to report back to you about the new position. How's
Me too. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks.
Take
Bye-bye.
care now. Bye-bye. All right, now the other 917. You are on the air. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your question?
Hi. This is
Hi.
Anna.
Hello.
I also have a work question. I haven't been working in my field for a while, and I'm wondering if I'll get back to it soon, or what do you see?
Are you a nurse or are you in some kind of healing profession?
Yes.
So there's a strange energy around it. So I feel like you'd be good with like maybe home health stuff or something more private, but I don't think you really want to be in a big institution. But then the private stuff you don't think pays enough. Does that make sense? Is that right?
Well, I don't have a big private thing going on. And I do have to get my license, so I have to work in an institute at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's like there's a part of your energy that actually just doesn't want to be in this field as it is. So that's why you're having so much resistance from the universe, if that makes sense.
No, I'm not having a resistance from the universe. I'm just not doing anything right now. I'm just okay.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why you're having resistance, or you're not motivated. Well, there you go. So it isn't the universe, and it is you. So basically, that's what it looks like in your energy too. It's like, no, I don't really want to do this. So maybe you want to go into even a different field, like esthetician or something.
I could be a doctor.
I don't think you want to be a doctor. I think you'd like to be a doctor, but not go through the process of being a doctor.
No, I don't mean that kind of doctor. Thank you so much for your help.
Oh, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.
What kind of
Take care
doctor now,
much.
I wonder? Bye.
Take care now. Later.
Bye.
What kind of doctor now? I'm curious. But
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that a question for the caller?
Well, she didn't. That's okay. We won't press any issues. But I don't know what kind of doctors there are anymore.
Okay.
But I hope that was helpful.
All right. We got 16 minutes left, and there's nobody left on the caller queue, so I guess I'll finish up with a couple of other things. Regarding, spend a lot of your time, it said, learning about past lives, parallel universes, and God. Okay, past lives. When it comes to past lives, can you enlighten us on what you know about people's past lives. Well, let me give my take on this. I was at a conference this past week, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show with Ted Marr was the head of that conference, the Galactic Wisdom Conference. He and I used to work together in our past lives in some shop in Atlantis, Lost Con of Atlantis. So
that's amazing.
That's one case of a past life. I don't remember that. Well, then again, most people don't remember their past life. So I guess among other things, we can explain why people don't remember their past lives here on this matrix planet known as Earth, and then tell us anything and everything else you can about the science of past lives.
So what is the question? I was so enraptured.
Series of questions. One, why do so few people have the ability to remember past lives? And then tell us everything and anything else you can about the science of past lives. And because I also before I do that, I hear there's a hierarchy of like, first you start off as like a rock, then you become like a bacteria, then you become like a plant, then an animal that's a pet, and then a human. Maybe I missed a few things there, but maybe you could elaborate on that hierarchy of sorts when you talk about this.
Well, when I was a kid, I used to think about this stuff, and now I realize I was talking to my guides about it because this is more of what I did as readings. I told you I wasn't as much future-oriented as I was past lives and past-oriented. And as a kid, I was asking my guides, and like I said, I didn't know it was my guides at the time, but why we don't remember, our past lives or anything like that. And if, when they have those in Greek mythology, they talk about the river Styx, and there's that like river of forgetfulness that you have to pass through between lives because, let's just think about life before, like life when you're 12 years old or whatever. If you had those memories like really stuck to you, it would be hard to like be who you are now. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to evolve if you really have, if those memories were so much a part of who you are. That's part of why we forget our past even, right? Like, don't you forget a lot of like your childhood or any of it? Because if you remembered it, it really keep you from moving forward. It is embedded in your subconscious. So it is part of what magnetically attracts other people and situations to you because all of those patterns are embedded in your subconscious. And then that's part of what helps you attract your new parents and your siblings and your home and your circumstances. So you have to forget because then you can't be in the present. You can't be in the present life if you're really focused on what happened in the past. But you have memories of the past when they come up, that deja vu or that feeling of knowingness when you know other people. That's always a great sign, isn't it? Now, in terms of do you start out as a rock or things like that, I do believe there's an evolution of consciousness so that we have to, even though humans seem so spiritually irresponsible and just incapable sometimes, to be a human is you really have to steward a lot of consciousness and a lot of energy. So you have to get to this point. So there's a lot of people that deny that whole transmigration of souls, things like, dogs are always dogs and horses are always horses and ants are always ants. I don't know about that. I feel that you have to work up to each level, and there's way more levels past human as well. Maybe not on this plane. The crustaceans are, but, we'll be moving on from this too and evolve into something else. So you may not have done that evolution of your consciousness on this plane, if that makes sense. Excuse me, you've done it in other systems sometimes.
Right. There's no one says it has to be strictly here on Earth. And with that being said, I wanted to talk about the next thing. I mentioned this in the bio: parallel universes. Now,
parallel universes.
there's a lot of controversy over what kind of terminology you should use. I mean, should you use the term parallel universe? Should you use the term realm? Should you use the term density? Should you use the term dimension? And it's been said by entities of higher consciousness that the idea of string theory, it is in general true. There's a couple flaws here and there, but in general, yes, the idea that at the most fundamental level, everything is vibrating strings. And also this subject of parallel universes, there's also dimensions, controversy over how many dimensions there are. It seems like it's an interesting fact that there's two different primary camps. It seems like there's a 12-dimensional camp and a 22-dimensional camp for discussing the construct of the universe. And in my interview with George Kavasilis, I asked him about that because he's in the 12-dimensional camp, and I asked him, well, why do some people why is it that there's a 12 and a 22-dimensional camp that is so prominent? And he said, well, looking at my construct of the universe, I could imagine that there is one part where someone might see as 10 layers in one, which can account for the 22-dimensional camp, but I still, for my own reasons, see that as one and not 10 in one. So, well, I've dabbled long enough. Maybe you can make this a little more simplistic. When it comes to parallel universes, how do you make sense of the whole thing?
Well, again, this is something that my guides showed me as a kid. So I think of it like very much like the way I saw it as a kid. So here's how they showed it to me. So they showed me like every thought that I had. There was a version of me on something that looked like our planet, but it was like different versions of that. So with enough thought forms, that starts to manifest, but there's other thought forms that haven't had enough impact from you or the collective consciousness to become part of your physical reality. But the thing about 12 or 22, I see it like, you know how we only think we use like 2% of our brain or whatever? Like that's all that they've found to be used. But I feel we're using 100% of our brain. They just haven't figured out how to measure the other parts or recognize that it's active. It's kind of like, dogs can hear things that we can't. So I can't imagine there's only 12 dimensions or 22 dimensions. I would think it's like a bazillion dimensions, but we just can't perceive them with our human, however advanced we are, technology/consciousness. So that being said, this multiverse cannot be limited. They're going to keep discovering more and more and more and more and more. But in terms of parallel universes, if you think of it like every thought you have goes into the morphic field that has a vibration with everything else, and this can be activated. You're creating little versions of yourself and your reality in different parts of the universe. And when you reach a critical mass, they're going to manifest in your reality here. But there's other parts of you that are experiencing different things elsewhere with those thought forms. That's how I see it anyway.
Okay, fair enough. And in the final, I know it's how cliche for me to say fair enough, but hey, I'm the kind of guy that likes to try to get many different subjects in a 2-hour show, even if that means doing each subject
my
on
throat
the
is
fly.
starting to hurt. That's why I'm talking so slow. I'm starting to...
That's all right. There's only 6 minutes and 50 seconds on the live feed. We can go a little past that if you need to finish the thought or something. It's just that if anybody wants to hear you, they'll have to call into the show, 646-478-4747. But just for the sake of all those people who have lousy attention spans, we might as well try to keep this to a 2-hour show. So 6 minutes and 30 seconds left on the live feed. And I guess we'll end this show. Talking about what you see for the future. Now, at the Galactic Wisdom Conference I was at, one of the speakers did like a rumor has it segment during his presentation. I did talk about this during the news segment on the show, if you were there, where I talked about, like, for all intents and purposes, the Illuminati cabal no longer has any power. It's just that the reason we're not truly free and the reason we're still on a prison planet is because we can't change overnight like that. It has to come out slowly and progressively. But there's been a lot of talk about things like something really, really big has got to give. People are talking like some sort of, like, maybe another Edward Snowden holy shit revelation or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be really nice. And also, Randy Kramer, in a recent interview he did with Brad Johnson, the Adronis contactee, he said a lot of people do want to give the UFO ET cover-up out to the rest of the world, but the problem is we can't do it all at once because there's a lot of people that if we were to tell them the truth, they would lose touch with reality. There'd be chaos in the streets. They'd commit suicide, and there'd be people going nuts. And I think that's a ridiculous excuse to not release everything. If people can't handle the truth, they have no one to blame but themselves.
Everyone's
like
trying
it or not,
to protect
that is the
us
excuse.
from ourselves.
Yeah, that is the excuse that he gave. So you have to think that sometime in the very near future, in this 2016-2017 time frame, and let me revert back to my interview with Franco De Nicola, he was talking all about how by like the end of 2017 we'll be in the fifth dimension, and a lot of people are also talking about that idea. So in regards to the upcoming near future, what do you see? Just, there's 4 minutes and 35 seconds on the live feed.
In terms of our consciousness, our evolution of consciousness, what do I see?
Oh, yeah, all that. Yeah.
And in terms of, like, the truth coming out, well, interesting, in numerology, this is the year of truth being revealed. 16 is a karmic number about truth and all the things that you've been hiding from yourself and other people. Which is, I think, why we're seeing how great during an election year, right? Like, oh God, some of the things that are being revealed. And the problem is, though, here's the thing. I feel people are a little bit slow to wake up. So I think there's going to be a lot of corruption revealed, like on a much deeper level than ever before. I don't think they're going to release any of the, like, UFO stuff. I think there'll be snippets of it. But honestly, when I look at the energy of where we are right now, I feel like the energy of protection, not protection in an archangel way, protection in terms of reaction when people get a little conservative, when truths start coming out. I feel like we're going to have more of that before we really have, like, the real revolution. I don't feel I feel a lot of revolutionaries coming out, and I feel a lot of reaction to them. And this is why we're having even more mass violence now, as people are freaking out and buying guns and trying to, like, destroy everyone before they're destroyed. They're getting into that limbic defensiveness. And so it is nothing to be afraid of. It's just something to be aware of. So it's really great that some of these truths are being revealed, but people are a little bit afraid to change right now, but they will. They will eventually. It's just going to be over a period of time. But it'll be interesting to watch some of these truths coming out, because a lot of us will be like, yeah, I knew that. So that's where I am with it. And I'm sure this is very different than everybody. Everybody is going to give you a very different response, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure, because, well, you don't really want to give dates because time is an illusion, and you can easily have egg in your face if you give dates. It's not the when, it's the what. But when you understand things like you said, 2016 is a year of things being revealed, then, well, it's kind of unavoidable. Something has to happen.
They are going to be revealed. Now, what people do with that, I don't know. It's going to be a while.
Yeah, because, I mean, like if Edward Snowden hypothetically releases information that proves the government staged 9/11 and then people commit suicide because they can't handle the truth, people are going to say Edward Snowden killed my brother who committed suicide because he couldn't handle the truth. No, your brother killed himself. He's got no one to blame but himself.
But
That's
they would blame Edward Snowden. You know, and
I know.
There's a woman that came out with a book about how, you know, she was basically John F. Kennedy's concubine, and everyone got mad at her for ruining their image of John F. Kennedy. Because people don't want to, you know, they don't want to. That's a strange way to end. But do you understand what I mean? It's like people, they want to hold on to their idea of what they want to hold on to.
Yeah,
because they don't want
fools.
They don't want to ruin their Disney. So, do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's going to take a while for people to be okay with that.
Well, just keep
With
getting
the
it out
truth.
there. Sooner or later, they'll have to get it.
Oh, it will happen. It will happen. It will happen. But right now, people are going to be in reaction to that, reaction to the truth. Because they, you know, they'll want to say, oh, I mean, people make excuses for politicians because they don't know what else to do. So they'll make excuses.
Yeah, you said it's a reaction. That reminds me, Jim Self, he said the third dimension, the present in the third dimension is reactionary, but in the fourth and the fifth dimension and above, the present has no sense of reaction to either the past or a potential future thing. So that's how you live in the moment, if that helps people make sense about time's an illusion. But, all right, the live feed just ended, so I guess we'll end this show now. And I will do that by telling you the same thing I tell all my guests. This is always the most emotional part of every show for me. But the thing is, Kari, it was a pleasure having you on. I admire your work. I will certainly keep looking at your videos and your work and everything like that. And if you ever, not that you would need to do this, but hey, you're more than welcome to give me a buzz if you ever want to use my show as a medium to get out the word about something and all that, if you think there's something worth getting on the radio to expose. But to tell you the truth, as far as me contacting you or any of my other previous guests that I've ever had on the show goes, ever since I started doing this show from day one, I've always wanted to do a resolution, keep this show with a policy of never have the same guest twice, because I want to try to get as many different people on as possible before giving any one specific guest double dips, because I felt that is the fairest, most impartial, and most informative way of doing a show that seeks to expose the true and false nature of reality. So unfortunately, that doesn't mean I probably won't ask you to come on my show again, and please understand that's only because I need to give thousands of other fascinating individuals like you a chance to come on my show.
I am not lacking anything to do, so.
That's all right. And believe me, all the trolls on YouTube like to pick on me, saying things like, what a douchebag, telling his guest he won't have him on again. I'll never listen to this show again. Well, the trolls can pick on me all they want. The trolls are the least of my problems. It actually just gives me more ammunition well, it actually gives the powers that be more ammunition to fight me with, which in the end will expose them even more if the trolls do that. So it doesn't bother me at all.
It must be a 5-like path. I'm almost certain you have it in your chart somewhere. But anyway, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
It's been a pleasure. And good luck. Take care now, Kari.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Namaste. All right, folks, that is the end of this show. And next week, next Wednesday, I will be having Darcy Hotchkiss. She was actually supposed to be a guest on a show a couple months ago, but a few days before the scheduled show, she had to cancel because of some unexpected move. So she will be the guest on the show next Wednesday, Darcy Hotchkiss. And that is the end of this show. This is Andrew Fisher signing off from Nature of Reality Radio. And namaste, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your trek down infinite consciousness.